Gospel according to Mark. Glory to you, O Lord. James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came forward to Jesus and said to him, "Teacher, we want you to do for us whatever we ask of you." And he said to them, "What is it you want me to do for you?" And they said to him, "Grant us to sit, one at your right hand and one at your left, in your glory." But Jesus said to them, "You do not know what you are asking. Are you able to drink the cup that I drink, or be baptized with the baptism that I am baptized with?" They replied, "We are able." Then Jesus said to them, "The cup that I drink you will drink, and with the baptism with which I am baptized you will be baptized. But to sit at my right hand or my left is not mine to grant, but it is for those for whom it has been prepared." When the 10 heard this, they began to be angry with James and John. Jesus called them and said to them, "You know that among the Gentiles those whom they recognize as their rulers lord it over them, and their great ones are tyrants over them. But it is not so among you. But whoever wishes to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wishes to be first among you must be slave of all. For the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life a ransom for many." The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, O Christ. Please be seated. Dear friends in Christ, grace and peace to you from God our Father and from our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Well, the words to our first song that we sung this morning, Canticle of the Turning, can be quite startling at times throughout the song, and maybe especially when they're the first song we sing in the day. We're singing, "My heart shall sing of the day you bring, let the fires of your justice burn." Kind of a strong start an intense start to the worship service. Some of the other lyrics in the second verse, "Let the king beware, for your justice tears every tyrant from his throne. From the halls of power to the fortress tower, not a stone will be left on stone." So there's strong imagery of apparent, at times, destruction in this song that we sing, "Let the fires of your justice burn." The words of the song are, of course, based on the Magnificat, the song of Mary in Luke chapter 2. Yes, sweet little Mary, meek and mild, with Jesus in her womb, the raging revolutionary that she was. But the song looks not only to the life of Jesus in history, this song, Canticle of the Turning, but also to the future, to the day when everything will be made right in the world, when God's kingdom that started to break in through Jesus' death and resurrection will eventually come in full to make all things new. And so in singing the Canticle of the Turning, we are looking ahead, looking forward to the day when God's justice will come in full in the world, where the world will know God's will being done and the kingdom coming in full on earth as it is in heaven. That's when the great reversal will happen that we sing about in this song. That's when ultimately we're actually missing a line from the chorus in our bulletin, aren't we? Yeah. I'm going to go back to the first service to get it. "Wipe away all tears, for the dawn draws near and the world is about to turn." That moment that we're looking forward to when God's the fullness of God's kingdom will come in full. And when that great reversal comes into the world, that this song looks forward to in hope, the result of that will be the end of all the needless suffering in the world due to war. All oppression will cease. All the results in the world of selfish leadership and tyrannical rule will be no more. And so that's what we're looking forward to when we sing those words. But there's also a great reversal that must take place in each one of us. Even as we wait for that great reversal to happen in the world, we recognize the way in which that reversal must come to our individual lives as well. And for those who are called by the gospel, that transformation that will one day come to all of creation begins now. And it's a transformation away from the attitude of what can I get out of it toward how can I be a part of something bigger than myself, part of what God is doing in the world. It's a move, that movement in our lives, that great reversal is a move from self-centeredness to community, and particularly to a community that is on a mission with God to bring that healing and wholeness to all of creation. And so it's this personal great reversal that James and John get a probably somewhat bitter taste of in today's gospel reading. This reading that we read as our gospel reading this morning comes just after the third time that Jesus predicts his own suffering and death, just within a couple chapters here in the Gospel of Mark. And this time he is presented in more detail than ever before. And I want to read you because it's almost comical, the way Mark puts this together, this prediction of Jesus' suffering and death, and then what immediately follows is our gospel reading of James and John coming to Jesus with a request. And so I want to read just a few verses right before our gospel reading this morning. They were on the road going up to Jerusalem, and Jesus was walking ahead of them. They were amazed, and those who followed were afraid. He took the 12 aside again and began to tell them what was to happen to him, saying, "See, we are going up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man will be handed over to the chief priests and to the scribes, and they will condemn him to death. Then they will hand him over to the Gentiles. They will mock him and spit upon him and flog him and kill him, and after 3 days he will rise again." James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came forward to him and said to him, "Teacher, we want you to do for us whatever we ask." And he said to them, "What is it you want me to do for you?" They said, "Grant us to sit, one at your right hand and one at your left, in your glory." And you see the stark contrast here between Jesus telling them what's going to happen to him, that he's going to be arrested and persecuted and suffer and die, and their immediate response to that is to ask him for special places of power and privilege at his right hand and his left. They seem to not have heard at all, or only heard selectively, what Jesus was just telling them. And so Jesus responds, "You don't know what you're asking." In a way, he's saying, "Did you not hear what I just said?" And then in verse 39, it's almost like Jesus gives up on explaining this to them because he realizes that they're not going to get it. After they say, "We are able to drink the cup that you will drink and be baptized with the baptism you will be baptized with," Jesus said to them, "Well, you will. The cup that I drink, you will drink." And they have no idea, of course, what that means. That the cup that Jesus will drink is the cup of crucifixion. And the irony there is that they have no idea that what he's telling them is that they will indeed share in that suffering, as all the disciples will eventually be martyred for their faith. But then Jesus goes on and says, "But as for my right and left, that's been assigned already." And remember the context here. Jesus doesn't suddenly switch to glory mode here that James and John are after. He's not suddenly talking about sitting at his right and left on the throne when he comes in glory. He's still talking about the cross. So what he's talking about here is those who will be on his right and his left have already been assigned are, of course, the thieves who will be crucified alongside of him. See, the cross, for the gospel writers, is the moment of Jesus' glory. It is the moment for Jesus when he will be lifted up over all the earth in order to save the world. And so Christianity is always the way of the cross. There is no faithful Christianity without the cross. In every generation, I think there's people who seek to be faithful followers of Jesus without the cross. Because the cross, not only is it offensive to people, but it also challenges any human pride and glory. But you can't have Christianity without the cross. I think we try today. I think we have a version of it, maybe multiple versions of it in today's world of trying to have a Christianity without the cross. And one of those ways might surprise you as I talk about it, but I think it's really well disguised because it actually appears to put the cross as central to faith. The version I'm talking about of Christianity that seeks to have a Christian faith without the cross is a version that says the cross saves us from our sin, but then there's no other implications of it. To have a cross that saves us from our sin but does nothing else, that gets us into heaven without saying anything about how we conduct ourselves as citizens of the world. Now, I don't want you to misunderstand what I'm saying here. Salvation is by grace alone. The cross is how God acts to save us and forgive our sin. But the cross is also so much bigger than that and does so much more. The cross is also the way in which God is turning the world around, as we sung in our first song, the Canticle of the Turning, this morning. It's the way that God turns the world, well, right side up. And so allegiance to the way of the cross involves living out our faith in a public way. So I would kind of draw an allegory from this text where James and John make this request of Jesus and say that the brothers' request, James and John request here, I would compare with a kind of private Christianity of today that seeks the glory of heaven, but without any cost. Jesus' way, by contrast, is the way of public faith, of recognizing how the way of the kingdom opposes all ways of oppression, opposes all pride, and is a way of defending and accompanying those who are weak and vulnerable. The Apostle Paul in the book of Colossians says that on the cross, Jesus disarmed the powers and authorities and made a public mockery of them. On the cross, Jesus pulls back the curtain to reveal the injustice and tyranny of a system that would put an innocent man on a cross. And then, through the resurrection, God takes away the power that comes from those systems through the threat of death. Death is no longer a threat in the face of the resurrection because Jesus has overcome the power of death for everyone. And so the cross challenges any system that puts the glory of people in front of their responsibility for service. I think our danger today is having a cross that gets us into heaven without shaping the way we live as citizens of the world, both in the ways we treat others, as well as with our political perspectives. That the cross can never be fully aligned with any human political power. And so as a way of leadership, the cross challenges every political system that simply glorifies another human being or set of human beings. God's way of leadership, Jesus is saying in this text, is instead the way of service, the way of lifting up others rather than drawing attention to yourself, of accompanying and advocating for those who are vulnerable and weak. The way of the cross is a way of living as a citizen of the kingdom of God now, seeking the things that are of the kingdom, of justice, restoration, forgiveness, healing, and community. And so James and John want to be with Jesus in his glory, and instead he turns them to the cross. The cross is Jesus' glory because it's the moment of ultimate selflessness, where the human capacity for doing good for others reaches its ultimate achievement. Our second reading from Hebrews says that talks about how the cross is Jesus' ultimate submission to God's will, so that all the world could be saved. And then Isaiah, our first reading, speaks in awe and gratitude of the death of the one that Isaiah calls the suffering servant. Jesus quotes that text here, and it clearly has impacted his self-understanding of what he came into the world to do. And so the crucifixion is the ultimate moment of human selflessness that stands in stark contrast to any way of leadership or rulership in the world that lifts up oneself instead. And so as those who have been called by the gospel and washed in the waters of baptism and who are being continually made new, we are called to follow today the way of the cross in a public way. We are called to our own great reversal, away from having ourselves ever in the focus toward living in community and a community of loving service to the world and in witness to the love of God that transforms hearts and will one day transform all of creation into the fullness of God's kingdom. And so we can rightfully sing and pray those words from the canticle of the turning. My heart shall sing of the day you bring, let the fires of your justice burn. Wipe away all tears, for the dawn draws near and the world is about to turn. Because we recognize the ways in which those fires must burn within us as well, to shape and form us, to see ourselves not primarily in terms of our individual relationship with God, but to view that individual relationship in the context of the community that seeks to live out the fullness of God's kingdom in the world. Amen.